Right now, in tens of millions of homes across the United States, there's a microwave running. Inside it is last night's dinner, warming up for a quick second meal. Nobody thinks twice about it. It's one of the most normal habits in American life. But here's a number I want you to sit with. Pancreatic cancer has one of the lowest survival rates of any major cancer diagnosed in the U.S. Fewer than 1 in 8 people diagnosed are still alive 5 years later, according to data tracked by the American Cancer Society. It's often called a silent disease because symptoms tend to show up only after it has already progressed. And the majority of new cases occur in adults over 60. What almost nobody talks about is this. Some of the most ordinary habits happening in American kitchens, specifically how leftovers are reheated in the microwave, are actively studied by food scientists for the chemical changes they trigger, changes that researchers have connected to pancreatic and digestive cancer risk. My name is Dr. Daniel Carter. Before we go further, I want to be upfront with you about something. I'm not going to show you a fancy studio or elaborate camera work in this video. What you'll hear is my voice walking you through the science carefully because that's what actually matters here. Producing high-end video footage takes enormous time, and I'd rather spend that time reading research and preparing accurate information than worrying about lighting and angles. So please judge this video by what I tell you, not how it looks, because by the end you'll understand something that could genuinely protect you or someone you love. Today we're covering 4 foods that a huge number of American seniors microwave as leftovers every single week. Foods you were probably taught were smart, healthy choices. But when microwaved after sitting in the fridge, they go through chemical changes linked in research to pancreatic and digestive cancer risk. I want to be clear about something before we start. This isn't about food poisoning or a stomach ache that passes in a day. We're talking about slow, cumulative exposure, compounds that build up in your body over months and years. Cancer is almost never caused by one bad meal. It's caused by repeated exposure day after day to the same small chemical insults. For many older Americans living alone, the microwave has quietly become the delivery system for exactly that kind of repeated exposure. Let me walk you through some basic food chemistry first, because this is the foundation for everything that follows. When food is cooked the first time, heat causes predictable, manageable reactions. Proteins unfold, starches soften, fats break down slightly. Normal cooking. But when food is cooled, refrigerated, and microwaved again, a different set of reactions can occur. And the microwave itself makes this worse in one specific way. Microwaves heat unevenly, creating hot spots next to cooler patches, which gives both bacteria and chemical reactions more opportunity to act before the food reaches a safe, even temperature. 3 mechanisms matter here, and you'll see them repeat throughout this video. First, oxidation. Fats and proteins exposed to air during storage become unstable, and when reheated, break down further into compounds capable of damaging DNA. Second, glycation. Proteins and natural sugars repeatedly exposed to heat form compounds linked to chronic inflammation, one of the biological pathways associated with cancer. Third, nitrate to nitrite conversion. Certain stored vegetables undergo bacterial changes in the fridge that under heat can form nitrosamines, compounds public health agencies classify as probable or confirmed carcinogens. Today, we're covering 4 foods that a huge number of American seniors microwave as leftovers every single week. Foods you were probably taught were smart, healthy choices. But when microwaved after sitting in the fridge, they go through chemical changes linked in research to pancreatic and digestive cancer risk. I want to be clear about something before we start. This isn't about food poisoning or a stomach ache that passes in a day. We're talking about slow, cumulative exposure, compounds that build up in your body over months and years. Cancer is almost never caused by one bad meal. It's caused by repeated exposure day after day to the same small chemical insults. For many older Americans living alone, the microwave has quietly become the delivery system for exactly that kind of repeated exposure. Let me walk you through some basic food chemistry first, because this is the foundation for everything that follows. When food is cooked the first time, heat causes predictable, manageable reactions. Proteins unfold, starches soften, fats break down slightly, normal cooking. But when food is cooled, refrigerated, and microwaved again, a different set of reactions can occur. And the microwave itself makes this worse in one specific way. Microwaves heat unevenly, creating hot spots next to cooler patches, which gives both bacteria and chemical reactions more opportunity to act before the food reaches a safe, even temperature. Three mechanisms matter here, and you'll see them repeat throughout this video. First, oxidation. Fats and proteins exposed to air during storage become unstable, and when reheated, break down further into compounds capable of damaging DNA. Second, glycation, and proteins and natural sugars repeatedly exposed to heat form compounds linked to chronic inflammation, one of the biological pathways associated with cancer. Third, nitrate to nitrite conversion. Certain stored vegetables undergo bacterial changes in the fridge that under heat can form nitrosamines, compounds public health agencies classify as probable or confirmed carcinogens. Food number 1, leftover rice. Rice is a staple in millions of American households, and microwaving a bowl of leftover rice for lunch is one of the most common habits in the country. The core problem has almost nothing to do with the microwave itself and everything to do with what happens to the rice before it's ever reheated. Raw rice naturally carries a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. It survives initial cooking. If rice sits out too long or stays in the fridge for several days, this bacterium multiplies and produces heat-resistant toxins. Here's the detail almost nobody knows. Microwaving the rice again may kill the bacteria, but it does not destroy the toxins they've already produced. Those toxins survive reheating and enter your digestive system intact, and laboratory research has shown that this particular toxin, cerulide, can impair mitochondrial function in human cells. Mitochondrial dysfunction being one of the early cellular events researchers associate with malignant transformation. There's a second mechanism at play. Repeated heating of starchy foods increases formation of acrylamide, a compound produced when natural sugars react with amino acids under heat. International cancer research bodies classify acrylamide as a probable human carcinogen. For older adults who often have slower digestive turnover and reduced immune resilience, repeated low-level exposure through weekly microwaved rice is precisely the kind of cumulative habit researchers flag as a genuine long-term concern. Not because of a single meal, but because of the pattern repeated week after week, year after year. What should you do instead? Cook rice fresh when possible. If you store it, spread it out to cool quickly, refrigerate within 1 hour, eat within 24 hours, and never reheat the same batch twice. If this kind of detail is useful to you, take a second right now and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this information reach more people who need to hear it. Food number 2, leftover chicken. Chicken is the default lean protein for health-conscious Americans, especially seniors managing cholesterol and heart health. And leftover chicken almost always ends up back in the microwave. When animal protein is heated a second time at high temperature, it undergoes protein oxidation, forming compounds called heterocyclic amines, or HCAAs, among the most extensively studied compounds in dietary cancer research. Once inside the body, liver enzymes convert HCAAs into reactive substances capable of binding directly to DNA. DNA damage in critical regulatory genes is one of the foundational steps researchers believe can initiate cancer development over time. Beyond HCAs, reheated chicken also produces elevated levels of lipid oxidation byproducts, including malondialdehyde, a compound that has been studied for its capacity to cross-link with DNA and proteins, potentially compounding cellular damage over repeated exposure. Research examining frequently reheated well-done poultry has pointed to increased colorectal cancer risk, and some studies have also explored a possible association between reheated processed poultry and pancreatic cancer risk specifically. A cancer, as mentioned earlier, with one of the lowest survival rates of any cancer diagnosed in the U.S. There's also a practical, often overlooked issue specific to microwaving chicken. Because microwaves heat unevenly, the outer edges of a chicken portion can reach very high temperatures, sometimes scorching slightly, while the center remains only warm. That scorched exterior is exactly where HCA formation concentrates most heavily, meaning the very edges people often consider well reheated and safe may carry the highest concentration of these compounds. What should you do instead? Reheat chicken gently, using lower microwave power over a longer time, or better yet, use an oven or stovetop with added moisture to reheat more evenly. Avoid microwaving chicken until it's visibly charred or dried at the edges. Quick reminder before we continue, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. I cover topics like this regularly, and subscribing means you won't miss the next one. Food number 3, leftover spinach and leafy greens. Spinach is one of the most recommended vegetables in America. Doctors and dietitians consistently encourage older adults to eat more leafy greens for heart health and nutrient density, and they're right when it's eaten fresh. The problem emerges after cooked spinach sits in the refrigerator. Spinach, along with beets, celery, and Swiss chard, is naturally high in dietary nitrates. In their original form, these nitrates actually support healthy blood pressure. But once cooked spinach is refrigerated, naturally occurring bacteria on the leaf surface begin converting those nitrates into nitrites, the same chemical shift responsible for some of the concerns associated with certain cured and processed meats. When that stored spinach is microwaved, the nitrites can react with amino acids present in the food to form nitrosamines, among the most potent dietary carcinogens identified in food science research, with studies linking elevated nitrosamine exposure to increased risk of stomach, esophageal, and pancreatic cancers. There's an additional detail worth understanding. This nitrate to nitrite conversion accelerates the longer cooked spinach sits refrigerated. Spinach reheated the same day it was cooked carries meaningfully lower nitrite content than spinach that has sat for 48 to 72 hours before reheating, meaning the common practice of cooking a large batch of greens on Sunday and microwaving portions throughout the week may be worsening this specific risk. With every passing day, the batch sits in the fridge. The irony here is hard to ignore. One of the most recommended vegetables for older Americans can become a source of concerning compounds simply because of a storage and reheating pattern practiced in kitchens across the country every single week. What should you do instead? Eat spinach and other leafy greens fresh whenever possible. If you have leftovers, eat them cold within a few hours rather than microwaving the next day. And avoid batch cooking greens for the whole week if your plan is to reheat them repeatedly. Food number 4. And this is the one that surprises almost everyone. Eggs. Eggs are considered one of the most nutritionally complete foods available, a staple for older Americans trying to get enough protein without excess calories. But reheating eggs, especially scrambled eggs or hard-boiled eggs, creates a chemical issue rarely discussed publicly. Eggs contain meaningful fat content concentrated in the yolk. When first cooked, that fat undergoes an early normal stage of oxidation. But when a cooked egg is refrigerated and then microwaved again, that fat undergoes a second, faster round of oxidation. The byproducts of this process include compounds called oxysterols, which have drawn substantial scientific attention over the past decade. Research has associated oxysterols with inflammatory and cell-damaging effects, including effects described in scientific literature as genotoxic, meaning toxic to the genetic material inside your cells. Genotoxic compounds are considered potential contributors to cancer because they're capable of producing the kind of DNA damage that initiates disease processes at the cellular level. There's a second issue specific to microwaved eggs. Because microwave heating is uneven, egg proteins can be exposed to sudden, intense heat in some spots, while other areas remain only lukewarm. This uneven exposure accelerates protein breakdown and can degrade sulfur-containing amino acids naturally present in eggs, compounds that some research suggests may contribute to oxidative stress in the digestive tract when their breakdown products accumulate over repeated exposure. Persistent oxidative stress in the gastrointestinal lining is considered one of several proposed contributing mechanisms in the development of colorectal and pancreatic disease over long periods of time. One more detail worth knowing: hard-boiled eggs reheated in the shell retain moisture and heat more evenly than shelled, cut, or scrambled eggs reheated directly in a microwave, meaning the method of storage and reheating actually changes how much of this oxidative damage occurs, not just the food itself. What should you do instead? Eat eggs fresh whenever you can. If storing cooked eggs, keep hard-boiled eggs in their shell and eat them cold. Avoid microwaving scrambled eggs or omelets. If you must reheat an egg dish, use gentle, low, indirect heat rather than a microwave. Before we wrap up, quick favor. If you've made it this far, drop a comment letting me know which of these 4 surprised you most. It genuinely helps me know what to cover next, and it helps other people find this video too. I want to be honest about something. When I first went through the research behind everything shared today, the nitrosamine formation, the heterocyclic amines, the oxysterols, my first reaction wasn't fear. It was frustration. Because this information already exists, it's published, it's referenced by food safety researchers. And yet, it rarely reaches the dinner table, especially not the millions of older Americans living alone, cooking in bulk, and microwaving the same containers of rice, chicken, spinach, and eggs every single day, believing they're doing everything right. None of these people are doing anything wrong. They simply were never given this information. Now, you have it. Let's bring it together. Rice. Reheating can reactivate heat-stable bacterial toxins and increase acrylamide formation. Chicken. Microwaving promotes protein oxidation and heterocyclic amine formation, linked in research to colorectal and pancreatic cancer risk. Spinach. Stored, reheated greens undergo nitrate to nitrite conversion, producing nitrosamines linked to stomach, esophageal, and pancreatic cancer risk. Eggs. Repeated microwaving accelerates fat oxidation, producing genotoxic oxysterols, and can degrade amino acids in ways associated with digestive tract oxidative stress. This isn't about fear. It's about one small, practical change, how you store and reheat the food already in your kitchen, that could meaningfully lower long-term risk for you and the people you love. If this video helped you, that's exactly what this channel is here for. So do me a quick favor right now. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Tap like if you learned something new, and drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway. It takes 10 seconds, and it makes a real difference for this channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.